spirit husband is 100% real. It's good to see you for the first time, even if it's virtually. I'm very well, thank you. Let me tell you about my experience with spiritual husband and friends. I know many people may not believe me, but I want them to listen first before judging. Back in Nigeria in 2021, I returned home, and by December 2022, I was preparing for my wedding, both the court wedding, white wedding, and traditional marriage. Many of my friends can testify because I was truly planning for it. But before that wedding, terrible attacks began. At night, while sleeping beside my fiancé, I would wake up with water all over my hair, yet there was no swimming, no rain, and no leak in the room. At a point, my fiancé became so scared that he called my elder brother to say he no longer understood the strange things happening to me. Still, he was a strong man and decided to continue with the marriage plans. One night, on the eve of our court wedding in Abuja, he left me and my girlfriends at the hotel to go visit a friend at a senator's house. As he was about to step down from his car, something told him to reverse and park elsewhere. The security men outside were already shouting. When he looked, there was a huge black mamba snake on the floor, right where he was about to step. If he had stepped down, that snake would have bitten him. They tried to kill it, but the snake disappeared. He called me immediately, very shaken, and I began praying with my friends. From that moment, I knew the spiritual husband issue was serious, because I had been experiencing things like this since I was 13. I had gone to many prayer houses in Nigeria, seeking deliverance, but many pastors only used me for show, calling me out without really helping. Eventually, I lost faith in those places. Even after the court wedding, attacks did not stop. As we prepared for the traditional marriage and white wedding, I suddenly started bleeding heavily. Doctors said it was a side effect of an injection, but I knew spiritually it was an attack. I bled for 13 months, in and out of emergency rooms in America, 8 times in total. My blood count dropped so low that I almost died. Because of this, my wedding date passed, June 6th and 9th, without the marriage holding. At a point, both families agreed that the only way for me to survive was for my fiancé to leave me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be alive today. Later, I was taken to the sea at Shangotedo, Lekki, Lagos for deliverance. While the spiritualist was working, we suddenly saw a very handsome man, glowing, emerge with a big can. The woman immediately told me to run and never look back, because that was my spiritual husband. Angry that they were disturbing him, she said he didn't want anything, only that I should be left alone. After that experience in Lagos, things became clearer to me. My spiritual husband was not just an imagination. He was a real spirit being, powerful and possessive. I remembered how it all began at age 13. That was when I first started dreaming of a man who always came to me. Handsome and loving, but controlling. At first, I thought it was just normal dreams. But as I grew older, his presence in my life became stronger. Whenever I tried to get close to men in real life, relationships would scatter for no reason. Even the good ones that should have led to marriage ended suddenly. My friends could not understand why I always had these mysterious breakups. But deep inside me, I knew it was connected to the spirit man. The painful part was that whenever things seemed to be going well, the attacks became more intense. At times, I would see snakes physically appear, sometimes in the compound or even close to my bed. Other times, I would wake up wet, as though I had just come out of a river. I could not explain these things to people around me, because they would think I was mad. My fiancé stood by me through many of these experiences, but the battles were too much. When I bled for those long 13 months, he was running up and down with me to hospitals, praying, fasting, and doing everything possible. Yet things kept getting worse. The spiritual husband was determined to frustrate every marriage plan. He made sure that my family and his family eventually agreed to separate. US for the sake of my life. It was not easy for me, because I truly loved this man and wanted to be his wife. But when I saw how close I was to death, I realized it was either I lived without him, or I died fighting a spirit I could not see. Even after leaving him, the spirit husband did not stop troubling me. He began to appear more boldly in dreams, warning me, and sometimes caressing me, as though he owned me. He was no longer hiding. I began seeking deeper answers. Why was this happening to me? Why was my life tied to this being? Why couldn't I be free like other women who married, had children, and lived normally? That was when I started to learn that these spirits are ancient. They are not just ordinary demons that can be chased away by shouting. They are covenant spirits, tied to bloodlines, families, and spiritual agreements made long before we were born. In my own case, it was later revealed that someone in my family had dedicated generations to the water spirits, and I happened to inherit the deepest covenant. That was why the spiritual husband refused to let me go. He saw me as his wife, his possession, and he would fight anyone who tried to take me away. As I grew in understanding, I realized that many women suffer this same battle in silence. Some never get married. Some marry, but cannot keep a stable home. Some keep losing pregnancies, while others face financial hardship and strange sicknesses. Yet they do not know that a spiritual husband or wife is behind it. In my own journey, I became a living testimony of how serious and destructive these spirits can be. They are jealous, possessive, and violent when challenged. I lost my wedding, my health, and even my peace of mind at different times because of this covenant. When I was taken to the sea for deliverance, the woman who led the ritual told me something that still rings in my ears. She said, "This man does not want anything from you. He only wants you to remain his. If you continue fighting him, he will keep attacking you. If you accept his presence, he will stop. But how can I accept a spirit husband and still live a normal life? How can I embrace a being that has cost me so much?" That was when I knew I had to choose my path. Either I surrender to him and live under his shadow, or I fight for my destiny and freedom. I chose to fight, no matter how long it takes. In dreams, I began to confront him. Sometimes he came as a lover, sometimes as a husband, sometimes as a snake. At first, I used to be afraid, but gradually, with prayers and spiritual knowledge, I started speaking boldly. I told him, "You cannot control me. You do not own me. I belong to the Creator who gave me life." This boldness did not come easily. There were nights I woke up with scratches on my body. Nights I woke up suffocating, as though someone was pressing me down. Sometimes I felt his hands around my waist, pulling me close. But each time I reminded myself that fear is his greatest weapon. Once you fear him, he gains more ground. I also began to learn about ancestral covenants, how our forefathers entered, agreements with spiritual beings for wealth, protection, children, or power. Those agreements do not just vanish. They pass down the bloodline, binding children yet unborn. That was why I inherited this battle. Through all these, I held on to faith. I kept speaking life to myself. I will not die in this battle. I will not remain barren. I will not lose my destiny to a spirit that is not of God. Slowly, I began to notice changes. The attacks became less violent. The bleeding that had lasted for over a year stopped. My body regained strength. And though I am still single today, I am alive, healthy, and walking in knowledge. My testimony is not just about suffering. It is also about survival. I faced death, rejection, heartbreak, and spiritual battles that many cannot imagine. Yet, I am still standing. Looking back now, I see that everything I went through was not just for myself. It was to open my eyes and to make me. a voice for others who are secretly in bondage, to spiritual husbands and wives. Many women and men are carrying the same battle but are too ashamed or afraid to speak out. Some think it is just bad luck. Some keep jumping from prayer house to prayer house, but without real understanding. Others are mocked by friends and family who do not believe in spiritual matters. But the truth is that these spirits are real, and they destroy silently. If not for the mercy of God and the wisdom of my ancestors guiding me, I would have been dead by now. 13 months of bleeding was no joke. 8 emergency admissions in America nearly took my life. Yet I am here, not just alive, but wiser. I now understand that the spiritual world rules the physical. Before anything happens here, it has already been decided in the unseen. That is why knowledge is power. Without knowledge, people perish. My journey is still continuing. I am learning, healing, and breaking old covenants step by step. I know that one day I will have my own marriage and my own family, free from the chains of the water spirit. But until then, I stand as a living proof that deliverance is possible, even if it is not instant. To those listening, my advice is this: do not take dreams lightly. When you see yourself constantly in water, swimming or making love in your sleep, it is not ordinary. When relationships keep breaking without reason, when snakes keep appearing, when sicknesses come with no medical explanation, pay attention. These are signs of spiritual spouse involvement. Do not allow fear to consume you. Seek knowledge. Seek help from people who truly understand the old ways and the spiritual laws, not just those who shout for show. Above all, strengthen your spirit. The more your spirit grows, the less power these entities will have over you. Today, I am no longer the same young girl who was tormented without understanding. I am a woman who has walked through fire and come out stronger. My story is not just pain. It is also victory, because I did not die, and I did not lose my destiny. This is my testimony.